Good morning. Welcome to this podcast. We have with us today Mr. Tim Toe, who is founder and president of Applied OLAP. Tim is also the visionary behind the innovative product Dodeca, and we are proud to present him as one of our speakers and sponsors of Top Gun US coming up in Dallas here in September. So welcome this morning, Tim. Can you please give us just a little bit of background on yourself and some history of what brought you to be the visionary that you are in the S-Space space?
Sure. I'm a former CPA who got involved with S-Space very early. Been doing S-Space full-time now for 20 years. Started my own company about 17 years ago to build better product around the S-Space user interface. I'm a former Microsoft Excel MVP, actually one of the first 5 in the world. Now an Oracle Ace Director. And, we've worked really hard to make S-Space easier for end users. That's our vision.
Great. So we are bringing a few clients who are probably experiencing some issues. Can you share maybe a lesson learned that you have seen at a client that you've helped address here recently?
Sure. We were at a client that really showed me something I had never thought about before with S-Space. So, it was a client who had some very innovative uses and needs for Cascade reports. Now, Cascade reports in Excel, in the classic add-in in SmartView, is this idea of replicating an Excel template multiple times with different filters. So you have different tabs, for example, for different products or different regions or different legal entities, whatever it happens to be that you're reporting on. Now, for this particular customer, what they wanted to do is they wanted to have multiple tab workbook with a tab for each country. Now, this customer was in financial services. So the tabs were different countries. It was a fairly complex report. The thing that was different about this one is the rows. The rows on the report changed on every single tab in the workbook. Essentially what they wanted to do is they wanted to have a top 25 report of the top 25 banks that they worked with within each country. So on each tab of the report, the row set would actually be different, which is, for a Cascade report, that's a fairly different thing. I had never thought of that before. Now, we prototyped that in Dodeca very quickly, had that up and running. That's now in production. So that solved a customer's issue very quickly. We actually tend to get a lot of those. We tend to get the items that are harder, that you can't solve other ways. That's one of the things that Dodeca does very, very well, is solve issues for customers when they can't do things other ways.
Well, we are very glad to see you presenting 2 sessions at Top Gun. Can you share with the attendees or potential attendees that are listening to this podcast what they can expect to see in those sessions and potentially learn while attending?
Sure. The next generation outline extractor tips and tricks session I'm giving is around, obviously, the next generation outline extractor. Very popular tool, something that we re-architected a couple of years ago. From the original outline extractor. Many companies use this tool to manipulate outline information, and the session will help you cover different ways you may not have thought of using the extractor before. So, we'll hopefully be able to help everybody in that session. That session, by the way, was an award winner. It was the Best Speaker Award winner at Kscope 2014 up in Seattle. The second session I'm doing is called Dodeca Does It, the top 10 things you can do in Dodeca that you can't do in SmartView. Now, Dodeca is one of those products that hasn't had wide exposure at this point. We've not been really strong on the marketing side. We do more of word-of-mouth type of marketing. A lot of people don't know what Dodeca can do, and especially in regard to SmartView. We see SmartView out there in the world today. People, a lot of times struggling with what they can do with SmartView or to do the things that they need to do for their users. What we'll do is show you the things that you can do very easily in Dodeca that you can't do in SmartView and make it the lives of your users much better.
Great. Well, thank you again for your time this morning, Tim, and thanks to everyone who's listening to this podcast. We look forward to seeing everyone in Dallas here in a couple of weeks.
All right. Thanks, everyone.